several strategic battles in France. After twice trying to cross the Siegfried line, the troops finally broke through and were on German soil. As months went on, Mr. Brockman made his way to the Buchenwald concentration camp. Please join me as we watch a WQED production entitled Return to Buchenwald, Clarence Brockman's story of then and now.
Five-year-old soldier serving in the 80th Infantry Division. American forces were pushing deep into Nazi Germany.
We started east, over towards Gera, Jena. We hit Weimar, April 11th, 1945. We pulled into the town, and the first thing you asked for, and the civilians over there, where's the booze? And this one told us there's two farmers down this road. It's about 4 miles from the Weimar. Said they make the best. So we started down that road. There we are. Oh,
Clarence Brockman today lives a quiet life with his wife and family in McDonald, PA. But in 1945, he was a hardened soldier by the time he hit Weimar in East Central Germany. Earlier, Clarence had landed at Utah Beach, fought through France and on into Germany. But nothing prepared him for what he was about to see down that country road.
I asked Corporal Billman, he was in charge of a group of 4 men. I said, do they have monkeys here? He said, I don't think so. I said, what's up in the trees? Because they looked like monkeys. They saw us first. They didn't know who we were because we had strange uniforms. Or strangers to them. So they went up the trees there. And when we approached the rock, we thought we were human beings. Dressed like monkeys. I mean, what they had on was on with rags, dirt, filth. And one of the guys with us was speak Italian. And he started talking to him. One of the guys was Italian prisoner. He told us their camp was down the road about 2 miles. You smelled that camp before you got there. You smelled it downtown Weimar, that camp. And that's roughly 6 miles away. And we come in the gate, I said, oh, wait a minute. I said, I don't want to go in there. Because everything imaginable, there typhus, smallpox, anything disease it was, you name it, they had it. And there was piles of bodies there.
For the next 2 hours, Clarence and his fellow soldiers wandered through what turned out to be Germany's biggest concentration camp, Buchenwald. From 1937 to 1945, the Nazis imprisoned over 250,000 people there. Political prisoners, POWs, Jews. More than 56,000 were starved or worked to death.
This is what they exactly looked like. On the day we was there, we saw the bodies laying around. And they were in carts, they were laying on the ground, they were piled up in the crematory. They had a pit there, and they were throwing the bodies in there. Of course, we got there, we got the bulldozer made it a bit bigger. As you get 2,500 bodies, you got to put them someplace. The camp was well kept. It was. We was never told anything about concentration camps. We didn't know what it was about. How many crematories was there? 3, 4 furnaces to one. And the bodies would have cooked in there. This is what the barracks looked like. The people, they still didn't know what was going on. Even after 3 days, they still didn't recognize freedom. But we notified our CIC officer, Captain Root, says we can get a big problem up here. Got a camp. And right away the wheels started rolling. then they brought up food and everything else.
Clarence arrived at Buchenwald on the morning of April 11th, 1945. The Nazis had abandoned the camp 3 days before, taking many of the prisoners on a forced death march. Clarence was one of the first Americans to walk through Buchenwald. This film footage was shot by the U.S. Army in the days just following the camp's liberation.
We saw the camp inside out. And then the people say they didn't know what was going on. They didn't know the camp was here. When the order come down to take the civilians of the town, take them off that camp and take them to the camp. Then they broke down. All of them.
Those images are forever burned into Clarence's memory. He returned home, married, moved to McDonald, had a family, and retired after working for 35 years at Consolidated Coal. Though Clarence has visited Germany several times, he never thought he'd see Buchenwald again.
I say I'm going to go back.
But 65 years after first seeing that terrible place, he did go back. An international committee that maintains the camp invited Clarence and other U.S. soldiers from the 80th Division. Only 6 of the liberators were able to make the trip. Clarence traveled with his daughter, Barbara, to commemorate the liberation and to meet with 100 people he helped set free.
So we heard about coming over, how it would react over there at that time. But then, when you get to the plate of good food put down in front of you, and a nice tall glass of beer, which you're not allowed to have, kind of change your mind a little bit.
Clarence didn't arrive empty-handed. He brought a book about Pittsburgh signed by Mayor Luke Ravenstall, a proclamation for the mayor of Weimar, and something else.
So we had a flag flown on top of the Capitol. And then we took that over, presented to the supervisor of the group over there. To look at the camp now and what it was back then in 45, that's 2 different stories. It's all well manicured. They burn all the buildings down. On
Yom HaShoah, Holocaust Remembrance Day, the liberators and the survivors came together at a solemn ceremony.
This guy up here, I come in the gate, we got off the bus. He grabbed me and hugged me and kissed me and everything else. And oh my gosh. He wouldn't let me go. They said it's the biggest celebration of the Holocaust Day they've had over there.
What's left of the camp is still maintained, the main gate and restored barracks that house a museum and canteen. But Buchenwald today is vastly different than the hellish place Clarence and his buddies happened upon that April morning.
When I walked in the camp, I expected to see old barracks and whatnot still there. But then when I looked and saw how they manicured everything else, you realize you were there before. You saw it. It's something you don't want to remember, but you can't forget.
And the Germans killed 138,000 Lithuanian Jews. The whole country, Lithuania, was 1,250,000 people. 20% of the population was Jewish. And in 7 months, they killed 138,000. That's the way we were treated. And after a couple of days, they gave an order that all Jews have to go into a synagogue in the town. So maybe 800 people assembled the synagogue in the town. We were there, and after a while the Germans said, anybody not from this town have to go back where they came from. And the people that from the town had to stay in the synagogue. So we went outside, the horses were gone, the wagon was there, and we had some possessions. So my father decided we were going to take the wagon and pull it. So my father and my brothers were pulling the wagon. And while we were going back, one German stopped us, a German soldier, and said, "What happened to your horses? You're pulling it yourself." And my father told him in a broken German that somebody stole them. And he said, "Okay, you wait here. I'll be back." About 15, 20 minutes later, this German soldier came back with 2 horses. And he says, "You use them, and don't go on the road where you're going back to the corner, because the Lithuanians are stopping all the Jews, taking their possessions away, and killing them. You go on the road where the German soldiers are going, and nobody's going to bother you." And we listened to him, and we went the road where he told us to go. Nobody bothered us. We found out later on that anybody that went on the road where the German soldiers stopped us from going, but their possessions were taken away and they were killed. And when I tell you that story, it's for one reason and one reason only, because I want to show you that not all the Germans was bad. There were good Germans too, not enough of them. Because if I would hate all the Germans, I would be just like them, because they hated all the Jews. There was no difference to the world. So when we came back to the corner, we came to our house was taken already, the Lithuanians took it over, and my father and his brothers were in business. We had a lumber mill, and we had about 80 horses, so we had this big stable over there. So we decided, the Lithuanians took the house away, we didn't have a place where to go, so we went to the stables. The stables were empty, there were no horses no more, so we stayed in the stables. Then the Germans gave an order that all Jews had a curfew. They could only walk in the street from 6 in the morning but till 7 at night. And they had to put in this yellow star in the front, on the left-hand side, the front and the back. And you had to walk in the gutter. You could not walk on the sidewalk. And that's the way we lived over there. And I had a cousin that he was walking. One day he walked on the sidewalk. He didn't want to walk in the gutter. Okay? And a couple of German soldiers passed by and they beat him to death. That's the first one we lost in our family. Then the Germans decided that the Jews are not human beings, they're animals. And animals are not supposed to live with people. Decided they're going to build a ghetto. So they built a ghetto on the outskirts of Kovna. There was a very poor area there, but with old houses. So they built a fence all around the area there, put on watchtowers, and gave an order. All the Jews had to move in there. So they put in 38,000 people. The whole area was 2 square miles. And every family got 1 room. If the house had 3 rooms, there were 3 families in it. We were 6 people, we had 1 room for us. That was it. Then, and they needed more room because more people were coming in, so they built a small ghetto on the other side, on the road, and they built a bridge. So they made a small ghetto and a big ghetto. Altogether, there were 78,000 people. And we were going there for a while. Meanwhile, my father and my brothers were working in the stables, but they formed like a government, and they made people bringing in food to the ghetto. They made a police department to keep order and things like that. And one day my father found out that there's going to be a selection, actually it's called, to look for children. Because kids like us, they didn't have any use for us. Because I was 11 years old, and I wasn't old enough to work. Okay? So he found out there's going to be a selection. So in the stables where the horses were, in the ghetto, there used to be holes in the ground. Because years ago we didn't have no refrigeration, so they used to put in the food in the holes, so it used to last a little longer. It acted like refrigeration. Life in camp was terrible, okay? After, I just want to show you a couple of pictures here. See, this is the March of the Living, it's called. Every year in May, people come from all over the world to Auschwitz, the concentration camps. And there were thousands and thousands of people. When I went there were 8,000 people were there from all over. And that's in the memory of the Holocaust survivor. So they do that. So that was the gates to Auschwitz when they used to come. This is the airport tax that they used to bring the people to. They would be killed. They see the barbed wire fences? They were electrified. If you touched them, in a second you were roasted. 1,500 watts of electricity going through them. And even if you made through to one, there were double fences. You were stuck in the other one. And the watchtowers used to shoot you. And you see this, just when Auschwitz was 1940 to 1945. That's in the memory of the people that put up a monument there. And see those canisters? Before, they used to use these canisters. They used to bring you into the showers. Then they used to, with holes, they used to throw in the canisters in the showers, and the people used to suffocate. After, they started to use the gas. See the tanks over here? Tanks over here? That's what the gas was. And you see the pipe over here? They used to hook it up to the pipe, the gas, and they used to go in, that's the shower heads. See? That's the shower. They used to squeeze in 150 people or more, and the gas used to come out from there. And you used to suffocate. That was the end of you. After you died, you used to take you out. This here, that was after the war. That's when he was there. And Americans, they were showing the people, their dead bodies. And you see this little guy over here? See this? That's me. Looking at dead bodies. A dead body didn't mean nothing. Because anybody died, we used to throw them out like a piece of garbage. In a wagon like this, we used to pick them up in front of the barrack and take you away to the crematorium being buried. That you used to be happy when somebody died. Because when we were in the bunks, used to be 10, 12 people in a bunk. You couldn't even lay on your back, you had to lay on your sides. No blankets, no nothing. That's the way you lay. And somebody died, you had a little more room. So you used to be happy when somebody died. We weren't human beings, we were animals. See, this was the crematoriums. That's what the chimneys, the flames and smoke used to go 24 hours a day. That was the ornament that they used to buy the people. That's what they used to put you in. Now you see on the bottom here? See this over here? There's little doors over here. After they used to burn the bodies, they used to catch the fat, whatever was enough from the bodies. And they used to make soap out of it. And it used to be called Juden. Juden means Jews. Soap and Jew. That's what they used to do. They used to put in 2, 3 people at a time. See, that's the double fences, the electric fences, if you couldn't escape from there. Maybe 2 or 3 people ever came from there. You see, that was our uniforms. That's what we used to use. That's all we wore all the time. I wore that uniform when I got in Auschwitz and Vietnam, right? I wore it till I was liberated. Same thing. The last shower I had is when I came over there in Auschwitz. Never washed myself. We didn't even have no water to drink, not just to wash. But the Germans used to say that was the bunks. As a place like this used to hold 11 to 1,200 people. Originally, those were stables that were built for horses. But then they made it for people to live in. See the way the people looked? That's the way the people looked. Skeletons. That's like people. See the bodies here? After they were burned, when they used to come into the camps, they gas them and kill them. They couldn't kill them fast enough. They couldn't burn them fast enough. So what they used to do, they used to take wood outside, put wood on the bottom, bodies on top, more wood on top of the bodies, and more bodies, style up 10, 12 high. Then they used to take kerosene or gasoline, pour over the bodies and burn the bodies. And after, when the bodies were left like this, you know what they did with it? There's special grinding machines that used to grind up the bodies, make a powder from them. And they used to use it for fertilizer. I'll show you, you'll see later on what happened to it. And the Germans, they didn't throw nothing out. Everything they took from the Jews. That's in my doc. Okay? They saved everything. Whatever they took. Because they made cuisines out of it now. That's Majdanek. See how many people got killed over there? Now you see this dome over here? You know what's there? The place is over. They built that dome after. That's all ashes from people when they burned them. They used to pile the ashes up there. And after liberation, they built a dome there. And people come there, and they walk over there, you know, and people are fainting because they cannot believe it. When it's windy, the ashes blow in your face. That's ashes from human beings. Piles. That's 500,000 people died over there. Now you see the stones over here? That used to be the ashes. We used to use it in the field for the fertilizer. And after a while it hardened. It became like rocks. So that it picked it up and they made like cemeteries over there. In every country. That's all human beings. It is. That's in Belgium, another concentration camp. A little boy says, "Mommy, haven't I been good? It's dark, it's dark." Now you see this guy over here? The one on the right, the good looking guy, the real nice looking guy. That's me. Right? That was the Korean War. That was in the Korean War. I came to America in 1947. Okay? And I registered for the draft. But they didn't call me. And I went down to the draft board, I complained. I says, I want to fight for this country. This country gave me my freedom, and I want to fight for this country. They said, well, we'll see what we can do for you. A couple of months later, they called me, and they examined me, you know, and everything. And they said, listen, but you went through hell. You shouldn't be in the army. And I told them, I want to fight for this country, because they gave me my freedom, I want to protect it. And they said, okay. A month later, I was inducted in the Army. I came to Fort Dix, New Jersey. I took my basic training. And in February 1953, finished my basic training. Guess where they sent me? Never believe it. Back to Germany. Only two of us, two soldiers, went to Germany, the rest went to Korea, because they needed the interpreters. Because that time was the Cold War, and they could break out any minute. So I needed interpreters, so I was one of them. And people asked me, how did you feel going back to Germany, going back to the hell you came from? I said, I felt like a giant. And they looked at me, was it crazy? Felt like a giant? I said, yes. He said, when I walked the streets, and I looked at the Germans, and I said, you wanted to annihilate this little Jew. Here I'm back as a conqueror, a proud American soldier. Up to this day, you're not going to find a more proud American than I am. Not because I'm American. And I tell people, you know, a lot of people complain, but America, this and that. I said, if you don't like something, do something about it. Fight about it. Don't complain. Complain don't accomplish nothing. If I had a complaint, I do something about it. If I can accomplish myself, I got an accomplishment. I took on, what's it, AT&T. I had a cell phone, right? And I couldn't get no reception with it. I signed a contract, I couldn't get no reception. And I complained. He said, well, you got a contract, you have to honor the contract. I said, yes, when I sign my contract, I promised I'm going to be with you. But you promised I'm going to get service. But I'm not getting service. They told me, well, that's too bad. You can't do nothing. I said, okay. I went to my congressman. I complained. He says, well, let's see what I can do for you. A couple of days later, my contract was gone. I was still nothing. The same thing used to be in the community. The gardener used to keep the gasoline cans they used for the electric mowers, the grass mowers. Used to keep it in the street. And used to smell the gas. People made a cigarette, they couldn't blow. Kept on complaining. Nothing was done. But they're talking to the wall. I said, okay. I went to the fire department. I complained. He said, well, we don't know if it's against the rules. I said, it's dangerous. What do you mean it's not against the rules? Okay, I'm going to find out. I'll call you back in an hour. 45 minutes later, the captain from the fire department calls me back. He says, you're right, it's a fire violation. Okay? He went down, he told them, if I catch you, the cans outside, it's $15,000 fine. Okay? Since then, it's already about 6 years, you never saw a guest come outside from home. 507 Act never would have been there, till somebody would got to hide. I speak up, I'm not afraid. I may be a little guy. Now a lot of people say, you're a little guy, but you're a walking giant. And I feel like it too. Because I don't let nobody tell me things. I decide what's right. Your opinion don't mean that. It's my opinion that counts. If it's right for the people, that's what I do. I was in Auschwitz, treated like garbage, okay? But I made up my mind, I have to survive. I have to tell the world what went on. People wouldn't believe it. And we were there. I was picked by Dr. Mengele here for experiments, to be experiments. But he never lived to do it for me. And I went to work in a farm, got out from Buchenwald. And then the Russians were coming closer to the camp. They evacuated the camp. They put the people on the dead march. Thousands and thousands of people on the dead march. Now Europe is very cold, snow, and the only thing we were wearing was the pajamas you saw and wooden shoes. And that was in December, which was snow and everything, bitter cold. And people were marching, falling like, you fall down, if you fell down, they killed you on the spot. While you were walking, you saw hundreds and hundreds of bodies, every single day being shot to death. I kept on pushing myself. I would not give up. Kept on walking and walking for days and days. Then one day the Germans had pity on us. Decided they were going to put us into a barn and a farm to stay for the night. And we went into the barn, stayed there at night. It was warm, in the hay, out of the cold, the wind. And as soon as it got light, everybody out, whatever, and the people were hiding in the hay, and people couldn't get up. The Germans surrounded the barn and put it on fire to burn everybody alive that was left in there. We saw the flames and the smoke coming up. And one day we came, that was in January, we came to our place. The boxcars were waiting for us. They put us into the boxcars, and about a week or so later, we ended up in Buchenwald concentration camp. That was January 21st, 1941. That's a German ethics I'm giving you. I didn't know no date, no nothing. And we were there, the kids, they took us away. They were older people, they put them in that one camp, and the younger kids, they put in another camp. It was called a little camp. In the little camp, there are a lot of Russian prisoners of war there. So they put us in one of the camps, the barracks there, 66, with Russian prisoners of war. And over there, that was in charge of the barrack, his name was Gustav. He was a German prisoner, he was in politics, but he was against Hitler. And they put him in concentration camp in 1936. And he was in charge on that barrack. And he decided he's going to save the children. And he used to see to it that we got a little better food than anybody else. And also the Russian prisoners used to get better food too. So they used to give us to a store. And while the Americans were coming closer, they told them to bring the kids to the gate. They're going to put us on the dead march again. And Gustav and the Russian prisoners refused to give us up. They told them, if you want him, you will get him yourself. We're never going to bring him. Because the Germans knew that the smoking comes in the camp already. And they were afraid to come in. So one day I was looking out in a crack in the barrack, and the end of the camp. And the end of the camp, there was a wood perimeter. And I saw a tank going by me that stopped. I didn't know what it was. Then the tank disappeared. And we were there. 15 minutes later, there's a big commotion in the camp. And then somebody ran in and it says, the Americans are here, we are free. And that was April 11, 1945, on my birthday. I told you I celebrate 2 birthdays. The day I was born and the day I was liberated. And thanks to him and another Americans, we're free. And thank God I'm in this country. When I speak about my experience, the hell I went through, now a lot of people complain, listen, the environment. We live in an environment, and that's why we're that way. And it's baloney, I tell them. Nobody lived in a worse environment than the Holocaust survivors. We lived in hell. We saw human body didn't mean anything, human life didn't mean anything. And nobody, and all the Holocaust survivors that survived, they raised beautiful families. I never heard of a Holocaust survivor being a killer. And not just that, a lot of us became educators now. Because we go and show the hell that we lived through, what racism and anti-Semitism did. And I wanted, you know what, because I speak about my experience, for one reason only, I want to show you what hatred in this generation did. I want to make sure that things like that doesn't happen again. Because I tell people, listen, the world would be a real boring place if everybody be the same color or the same religion or the same nationality. And I give them an example. I said, if you take a picture and paint it one color, the picture doesn't look like anything. If it's a white picture, a black picture, a green picture, one color, it's boring, right? But if you take the same picture and put in all the colors, and the more colors you put in, the more beautiful the picture is. And that's why God created the world with all the colors, with all the religions. You should be a more beautiful world to live. And so, because you know, see this picture over here? That's my favorite. See how beautiful this picture is? That's the 4th of July, bursting in the air. That's my favorite picture. And that's why God created it that way. The most important thing, we should love one another, not hate. It's easier to love than hate. I say, if you love somebody, makes you feel good and makes the person feel good. But if you hate yourself because you're miserable, you make the person feel miserable. I said, if you got a girlfriend, right? You tell her how much you love her. Oh, it makes you feel so good. And you see her smile on your girlfriend's face, right? But if you tell her, I hate you, right? How does it look? Terrible, right? So that's it. I have a dream in my life, like Martin Luther King. I hope to see the world love. I don't look at a color, I don't look at a religion, I look at the individual people. If you are a good human being, that's what I love. They went into another hell, they couldn't get out. They couldn't even write. They wouldn't let no letters out. I finally found out that my father survived in June of 1946, more than a year later. I finally got a letter to my cousin in America, and she wrote me. Now that I come to America, when I went to the orphanage in France, and there was somebody from the Red Cross came over there talking to us, and they asked if anybody's in America. I know my father had 5 brothers and sisters in America. I know New York. And I gave my name, and they put it into newspapers and organizations. And my cousin, God bless her, she's 94 now. She's like a young girl, yeah. And She was looking all the time to see if any survivors in the family survived. And she found my name, wrote me a letter, and sure enough, it was family. They asked me if I want to come to America. I said, sure. Didn't have no family. Didn't know anybody survived. And they made me out papers. It took almost 2 years before I was able to come in as an orphan. Eh? And let me tell you, the greatest day when I came to America, when I arrived here. And I'm so proud to be an American. I have the American flag flying in the front of my house every single day. That's what I am, I'm American. God bless America. I couldn't talk enough. I haven't got enough time. So I have to go.